Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. I'm Stephen Brown. Joining me is Chris Bell. Chris, how are we doing, mate?
Yeah, good. Thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. We're taking a look at Halifax Town in this segment now. So, Halifax Town fans, if you're watching, get your comments in, get your questions into Tom as well, because we've got Mr. Tom Scargill from the Halifax Courier here to discuss everything to do with the Shaymen. Tom, how are we doing, mate?
Yeah, good. Thank you. How are you, gents?
Good, thank you. Yeah, so we'll deal with league matters first. First of all, Chesterfield game. It was a poor result, and it left heaps load of pressure on Millington going into that game against Aldershot the other night. But that Aldershot victory just seems to have tapered off the pressure somewhat, and now it's just kind of looking forward to the game at the weekend, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's no shame in losing to Chesterfield because they've got a fantastic squad and they're having a great season. Probably the manner of the defeat was a bit disappointing. Millington was focusing on the positives after the game, but I felt Chesterfield were kind of deserved winners. They didn't, trounce Halifax, but Chesterfield were the better side, and I felt that it was a bad time to concede the first goal in first half stoppage time, but second half I was never really convinced that Halifax were going to get anything out of it. And as soon as the second goal went in, it was game over. And that kind of put more emphasis on getting a win on Tuesday night, which was already a big game, but even more so after the defeat at Chesterfield. And I felt kind of going into that game, the difference between a win or a defeat was big, because Aldershot would have overtaken them. As it turned out, other results with teams below them kind of went against Halifax, which made the fact that they won even more vital. And they've gone from being 6 points above the drop zone, having played twice more, to now 8 points above, having played once more. So it's a much better position. There's more daylight between them and the bottom four now. So I think they can go into Saturday with a bit of a confidence boost.
Yeah, when it was just 6 points above that relegation drop, that was the kind of marker that everyone was looking at, wasn't it? And thinking, we could actually get sucked into the relegation battle here, because although Halifax have kind of flirted with it this season, it doesn't feel like they've properly been in it, but it was pretty close, wasn't it? And I suppose it's still only 8 points, but like you say, it's a better position, certainly.
Yeah, I think there's a few fans who've kind of drawn parallels with 2016 when they had a great run in the trophy, obviously won it, and then got relegated in the same season. They're not quite in the mire like they were that season. It's never really got to that stage, but 6 points above, having played 2 games more, you wouldn't really want it to get any closer than that. And hopefully it doesn't look like it's going to now. But especially when you take into account the fact that anywhere near being on the agenda at the start of the season. So to be that close to the bottom four at this stage, very disappointing. And it has to be the case now that the only way is up, and they need a strong finish to the season now and move as far away from that bottom four as possible, because they shouldn't really have been anywhere near it in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit of a reality check here from Moody BL as well. He's saying, we could have had 3 before Chesterfield even got started, but we lost 2-0 away to a team fighting for third place. Why is it such a big deal? Fair enough. There you go. So, moving on then, it's the big one this weekend, Tom. I mean, is it fair enough to say that Saturday's game probably makes or breaks the season for Halifax?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's the biggest game of the season. And I think the fact that they're not doing as well as anyone would have liked in the league does make it more important. I've asked Millington that and a couple of players, and they've kind of not necessarily gone along with that, but that's my opinion on it, really, that it can be a bit of a saving grace for them, and it can kind of not paper over the cracks, but put a different complexion on the season, I suppose. It's a massive occasion, but it is for Altrincham as well. I don't think at least Halifax have actually been to the final and won it. I don't think Altrincham have, so it's a huge occasion for them as well. They're having a really good season. It's going to be a great atmosphere. There'll be a big crowd, a tight ground. Yorkshire v Lancashire. There's a lot of different elements to it. There'll be a big following from Halifax there. And yeah, there's a lot riding on it for both clubs. I think Altrincham, if they were to go on to the final and win it, would see it as a kind of they feel like they're a club on the up at the moment with very good reason. And I think for Halifax, as I say, it's kind of a chance for them to not save their season, but a chance for them to kind of put the league disappointment to one side and have something positive, something tangibly positive to kind of to come out of the season, really.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit of a boost as well. Deborah and O'Rourke back to fitness and hoping to play a part.
Looks like it, yeah. Deborah would be the big one for me because Adam Senior's cup tied, who's been brilliant coming in on loan from Bolton. So he will have to drop out. So vital that Deborah can come in and replace him. Not guaranteed, but I think it's hoped that he will play because he limped off against Chesterfield and missed the Aldershot game. O'Rourke, whether he would come in to start, I don't know. Not having played for, I think, pretty much all of this month, to put him straight into the starting lineup after a hamstring injury might be a big call. So whether he'd be on the bench, but he's done all right. It's a shame he's not fully fit going into it because he probably would have started. But team selection will be interesting. How Millington decides to play it. He started with Warburton and Cook in the two number 10 roles on Tuesday, and I don't think either kind of played to their potential. Millie Alley came on and did well. Obviously scored a goal. Manny Dissarovwe came on and did well in place of Harker, so he's got a few decisions to make there. But whoever doesn't start and is on the bench could end up, coming on for the last half an hour and having a massive say in the result.
Yeah, absolutely. Moody, thanks for your comments, mate. Winning at Altrincham is well within our capability. It's not like going to Notts. Would you agree with that, Tom? I think everyone.
It's not like going to Notts, no. I wouldn't underestimate Altrincham. I know they've lost some good players in Colclough and Con Clark and Malarkey. Three really talented players who I was impressed by, all three of them in the doubleheader with them over Christmas. But they've replaced them well, I feel. They've got Regan Linney from FC United, who's cup tied. They've got Tyrese Sinclair on loan from Rochdale, who's got 5 in 10. And I think there's a lot to admire about the team. They've obviously beaten Wrexham on the way to the semi-finals, which is no mean feat. They're a team capable of scoring a lot of goals, especially at home. I don't think it's an easy place to go at all. I'd have been more confident if Halifax were at home. I think that would have been a good advantage for Town to have. I think they are a better team at home than away. But they've been away in every round of the competition so far and managed to get through. They won at Aldershot in the quarterfinals. Yeah, I think Millington is right when he says Altrincham are favourites, but Town have definitely got a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting tidbit I saw as well with Jack Senior as well. He's got a bit of a personal incentive as well, hasn't he, to get to Wembley?
Yeah, I love that. His brother played for Brooksbank, which is a school in Calderdale, in the 2011 like a schools competition held at Wembley before the Challenge Cup final. So that's kind of added incentive for him. That he could kind of say to his mum and dad that both their sons have played at Wembley, which would be brilliant. Senior's probably going to be captain on Saturday, hometown lad, and it wouldn't surprise me if they got through that he would be captain as well. The way the team is shaping up at the moment, so what a fantastic honour it'd be for him. I know how much he would absolutely love that, being a hometown lad. But yeah, I think that's a lovely little side story about what it would mean to him to get to Wembley and get one over on his brother.
Yeah, I mean, you can't underestimate how exciting it would be to go and play at Wembley. I mean, it's just it's incredible for even if you're at the elite level, isn't it? So if you're going down to the Vanarama level, it's mind blowing, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he talked about how he was watching England-Ukraine on TV and watching the England players warm up and thinking, that could be us if we got there. But he was also very keen to stress that, he's not getting ahead of himself. They know that they've got to do the job and get through the game at Altrincham. But I think it's brilliant that there is this kind of showpiece game at this level, because obviously you've got the FA Cup at the top, you've got the Football League trophy that has a Wembley final, and I think it's brilliant that you've got the FA trophy and the FA Vars for non-league clubs at all levels that they can aim for. Obviously, Halifax had that in 2016, which was an absolutely unforgettable day in the history of the club. And if they could do so again, it just means so much to the club, to the fans, to the town.
Just one thing that's just popped into my head that I was going to chat to you last week, but we didn't get a show last week. It's a little bit off topic. We will come back to obviously the FA Trophy stuff, but was the potential strike action for what was happening with sick pay and everything like that in the league. Where is that now, and what's kind of happened to that since? Is that something that could happen, do you think, Tom?
Well, I think that was, without kind of jumping to conclusions, I think that was probably something that the players mentioned because they wanted to kind of get across how serious they feel about it and try to get a reaction from the FA. And if that was the case, it's worked because the FA have said that they will talk to the captains. And I think the strength of feeling and the reaction, not just from the non-league captains, but from the non-league community in general, shows that it has been a major kind of misstep by the FA. And I think there has to be some kind of rowing back on this because it's just been met with widespread anger and confusion and disappointment, really. I was listening to Robbie Savage talking about it on 5 Live. Obviously, he's the owner of Macclesfield, and he was kind of disgusted about it, really. And I think I can perhaps understand where the FA is coming from in that they may be wanting to look at protecting the clubs, but it's kind of going too far the other way where you kind of leaving the players completely without support. And I've done a couple of stories about former Halifax player and a player who was injured against Halifax who were having to kind of fundraise to help pay medical bills. And I think you just see more.
Oh, I think we've just lost Tom there. I think the FA have just cut him off. Are you there, Tom? Oh, what a shame. I was just going to get him to do his predictions as well for the game on Saturday.
Technical gremlins.
Yeah. What do you think, Chris? Saturday then? Do you fancy Town, Wembley?
You just never know, do you? At the end of the day, it's cup football. Anything can happen. And they have got as good a chance as any. As I say, you'd fancy it more for Town if they were the home side. Going to Alty won't be easy. They're a side that have kind of progressed steadily over the last few years under that Phil Parkinson, not the Wrexham one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that there's half a chance. If I was going to sit on the fence, I would probably go with, all the way to penalties. I know back in the day, this used to be a 2-legged affair. I'm not entirely sure if it still is, if Tom is back, if he can correct me on that. But I know back in the day, it used to be a 2-legged semi-final for the FA Trophy. So,
yeah, it did. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
Right.
They beat. It was actually against Phil Parkinson, who was Altrincham manager in 2016. He was manager in Entwich, and they won the first leg 4-2, and then in typical Halifax fashion, made incredibly hard work of the second leg, drawing 2-2. So I probably would have been a bit more confident if it was a 2-legger because Halifax would have had a game at home. But the fact that it's one game at Altrincham does, for me, play a big part in Altrincham being the favourites.
That was something that was changed due to COVID, wasn't it? The 2-leg thing, along with everything else at the time of how do we reduce the number of games. That was what, if I'm right in thinking, put paid to the fact that it was a 2-leg semi-final.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And I don't know why they've not brought it back. I don't think it'd be a bad thing if they did. It probably had a bit more drama to it, but yeah.
Just quickly on the financial stuff, Tom. Just before we do press you for a prediction for Saturday and be really awful, but I was reading an article in the Athletic the other day, and it's kind of scary, the financial situation, even right down the leagues. It's something I've not really been aware of myself, kind of following Leeds and higher up the pyramid, and championship teams make huge losses. But when you're reading about teams all the way down the divisions, I mean, it is scary, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what can be done about it. I think one thing that springs to mind is there has to be more money flowing down from the top of the game. I think that the elite clubs would argue or the elite leagues would argue that they do send money down to the lower levels, but I don't think it's enough. I think it's money that they would find down the back of their Harrods surface, to be honest. And I think it's very important that the grassroots are protected and propped up, because they help kind of feed a lot of what goes on at the top level of the game. Look at the Jamie Vardys, the Tyrone Mings, etc., who come from non-league football, and they provide so much to their local communities. They're often a focal part of the community, a pride of the community, and I think extra funding and certainly safeguards need to be put in place so that clubs are in the right hands and don't fall into the hands of kind of disreputable people who own it for the wrong reasons. And football is awash with money at the top of the game, more money than it knows what to do with sometimes. So I don't see any reason why more couldn't be distributed further down.
Yeah, and I mean, there's even a problem at the top level, isn't there? Because wages take up so much of teams' revenue, and it just all seems a little bit of a mess. And you're kind of waiting for the bubble to burst, but it just seems to keep growing and keep getting bigger. But it does feel we're kind of at the tipping point. And I mean, it brings it into focus next Friday, won't it? When Halifax play Wrexham, and that's kind of the fairy tale, the movie stars, the massive investment, and it really does bring it home. Anyways, back to Saturday, FA Trophy semi-final against Altrincham. Guys, if you're watching this video, get your comments in, get your predictions in. Tom, what do you think? Can I put you on a spot for a prediction? How do you see this one going?
Well, ordinarily I wouldn't say there were many goals, but it was 2-1 at Altrincham and then 2-2 at Halifax, and there could have easily been more goals in both of those games. I think Halifax's big encouragement going into the game is that they have been defensively solid. Goals have been a problem all season. So I think Halifax's best chance is to keep it solid, keep it tight at the back, and try and, I wouldn't think they'd be scoring more than 1 or 2 goals on Saturday, purely because they haven't really done that very much at all this season. First goal will be big for me. I think if Altrincham get it, then the crowd are going to be up, and Halifax are going to have to, get back into it, which when they have fallen behind, invariably they've not managed to do that this season. If Halifax get it, then when they have taken the lead, there's been plenty of examples this season when they have managed to hold on to it and protect what they've got and see it out. So for me, the first goal is massive. I think Halifax showed a fair bit of what they'd like to do on Tuesday in terms of controlling the game, having decent spells of possession. What they didn't do was kind of make that count in the box and create decent chances. But I think they'll be looking to the likes of Luke Summerfield, Harvey Gilmore to try and get on the ball and keep the ball. That's very much Altringham's game as well. They're a possession-based team, comfortable on the ball, like to play it out, don't really believe in kind of hoofing it long, like to play it out and build from the back. So Halifax need to try and disrupt that and not let Altrincham get into any kind of rhythm or build long periods of pressure. So I think it's going to be tight. It's going to be nervy. I don't think there's going to be many goals in it. Knowing Halifax's run this season, it could well go to penalties. Head says a narrow win for Altrincham. Hart says a narrow win for Halifax. So I'd maybe go for penalties.
I was going to say, which one wins at the end of the day? Which one wins? To be fair, I'm sticking on that fence and going all the way to penalties, and then I'll go for Halifax wins.
To be fair, if it did go to penalties, I would be fairly confident because of the record they've got this season. I think Halifax would be quite confident as well.
Oof, yeah, we'll take that. We'll take that. Let's go. As Moody says here, we're unbeatable on penalties. Let's certainly hope so. Come Saturday, if it goes that far. Yeah, I'm going to agree. I'm going to go for a narrow win on penalties, or maybe extra time, something along those lines. But we've got us fingers crossed for Halifax Town. It would be incredible if they make it to Wembley. It would really kind of, It'd be great for the region, actually, because there's not been much to celebrate across the region. So, yeah, just the hopes of West Yorkshire resting on Halifax's shoulders.
No pressure.
No pressure there. Guys, if you've been watching the video or if you're watching it later on, please do put a like on the video. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content on Halifax Town, as well as our other teams here in the region. Tom, thank you so much for joining us, mate. Best of luck going into the weekend, and hopefully we'll be chatting to you next week and it'll be good news.
Cheers, mate. Fingers crossed.
Cheers, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you.